Hi, my name is David Sloan. I'm the Vice President of Draco Systems here in Boulder, Colorado. We manufacture and distribute the Casablanca. For the past 3 years, the Casablanca has been the revolutionary tool in the nonlinear editing industry. And now the next generation of Casablanca has arrived, the Casablanca Avio. For the next hour or so, I'll take you on a tour of the Avio. I'll show you how to add titles, music, special effects, transitions, image processing, everything you need to make your video professional and exciting. And the best part of it is this entire real-time package is all available for under $2,000. Now let's go inside and look at the Avio.
When you turn your Avio on, this is the screen that you're going to see. This is our main menu screen. This allows you to navigate throughout the software, anywhere in the software at any time. So anytime you get lost or confused, you can always come back to the main menu and you can navigate to any part of the software. What we're going to do is go through every section of the software. We're going to start with system settings because that's the first place you want to go when you turn the Avio on. So we're going to take the roller ball, the trackball, and roll it up to system settings, and then you click on the left side of the trackball. That is your selection side. Anytime you want to select a different area, you click on the left side. The right side is kind of like an escape. It takes you back to the previous menu. So we'll click on the left side of the trackball, and that's going to take us into system settings. Now in system settings, we're going to look at each one of these buttons and see what they do. First of all, select language. You want to go here and choose which language you want to be operating in, whether it's Spanish or French or English. In our case, we're going to choose English. We click on that and hit OK, and that's going to choose the English language for us. And then the video output is where we want the video going out of the Avio, whether it's the YC or the S video connector, or if we want it to go out the composite. And you just simply click on the left side of the trackball and you'll see you've got the CVBS, which is composite, and then the YC selection. In our case now we're using YC, so we'll choose YC. And then we have trackball speed, and this allows you to make the trackball a little slower or a little faster, and most of the time I leave it on normal, so we'll choose normal. And then you have a box that's kind of a disguised box over here. This gray box says version 1.0 on it. If you click on the left side of your trackball while on top of that, it's going to bring up an information area that tells you information about the Avio that you own. In this case, we have an Intel Pentium 233. It tells us the memory. The main thing that we want to look at here is the system version. And the reason for that is if you ever need tech support, one of the questions they're going to ask you is what version of software are you using? And they don't just want to hear 1.0, they want to hear exact version. So you go to system version and you can tell them the exact version of software that you're using. Click OK, and then the last thing we're going to look at is the install product button. This is actually a feature that is on your Avio, but it's not a feature set that we are actually promoting yet. It's a future feature. Click on install product, and this is going to have a list of software that's available for the Avio, but that you haven't paid for yet, that you just want to use to try it out and see if you like it before you buy it. And as we develop new software for the Avio, you'll be able to go to your dealer and have them add the software to your smart media, bring it back, install it in install product, and then you'll be able to turn it on. In this case, blue box is on demo, so someone has clicked on show there. If I wanted to do the same with bonus effects, I would go down to bonus effects and I would license the bonus effects or click OK on bonus effects, and that would bring it up as a demo. In demo version, I can use those effects, but the word demo appears over the effect. If you decide you like the effects and you want to pay for them, then you can go to your dealer and pay for those effects, and he'll give you a code. When you go to license, you would type in that code, and that would clear the demo and make it an actual version that you can use. So that's something that's coming up in the future. We're very excited about that because it allows you to look at the software and use it before you actually pay for it, and then you can decide if you really want it. We click OK, and then the last button you see here is this little strange button. That's the main menu button. That's a hot button that takes you back to the main menu. So we'll click on that, and that takes us back. The next button we want to go into is project settings. So we click on the left side of the trackball on project settings. And in project settings, you've got lots of options here. First of all, you have 3 projects to choose from. Those projects can be different video, different audio. They can be different quality settings. They're totally independent of each other. You click on the project, and that opens the project and loads it into the edit window. We're going to be working on project 3, which is the training video, but I also want to just show you so you'll see the difference. Project 2, if we were to click on that and then go back out to the main menu, when you go into edit by clicking on the edit button, you'll see that this project has been loaded. Now I'm going to go back out to the main menu and go back to project settings and choose project 3, which is the project that we're on, And when we go into the edit window in a few minutes, you'll see that it's loaded a completely different project. The other buttons that you want to that are important here are the new project button. If I wanted to delete everything in the training video and just wanted to start all over with something new, I click on new project and it warns me that I'm getting ready to delete everything on that project, or I can click cancel and not delete it. If I choose delete, everything on that project's gone and you cannot get it back. I'll click on cancel, and then information just simply gives me the information about this project. It's a training project, tells me the length of the storyboard, which is nothing yet because I haven't created anything, storyboard scenes, etc. These are all 0 because I haven't done anything, but if I were in the middle of a project and I wanted to know how long the storyboard was or how many effects, etc., I could come in here and look at that. Click OK, and then you've got an image button which allows you to choose the image, small, medium, or large. That's really a button that you ought to just leave on large most of the time. It gives you a border around some of the small and the medium. So if you've got a picture-in-picture or something like that, you may get a black border around it. If you happen to see a black border when you're doing a picture-in-picture or you're compressing some video, you know that you've got the image set wrong, and just come back to this window and change it. But I leave it on large because I do projection sometimes, and if you're going to use a projector, you want it on large so it'll fill the whole screen of the projector. And then audio quality, you have hi-fi and VCR mono. One of the things that's important to note here is that hi-fi uses up quite a bit more space than VCR mono on the hard drive. So if you know you're doing a very large audio project and you need tons and tons of audio, you may want to switch this over to VCR mono to get more space. As you can see down here where it tells us the time, we have, even in hi-fi, we have 600 minutes of audio. So you'd have to have a pretty large project to need more audio than that. The other area here is quality setting. Right now we're set on quality 6, which is the highest quality setting that you can get on the Avio. That is a very, very good quality, as you'll see. It's comparable to DVD, or you can go all the way down to, by clicking on it and rolling, down to level 1, which is VHS comparable. Within a project, once you've started a project, you can only move 3 levels. So you know, as you can see here, I can go down to level 4. That's because I'm within a project. If I were to click on new project, then I could go all the way down to level 1 and pick the level that I want to start at. But we're going to be in level 6, which is our highest quality, and as you'll see, is a phenomenal quality, picture quality, and gives us still lots of time on the hard drive. On this 13 gig hard drive, we still have 113 minutes. And then the last thing on this window is hard disk capacity. This just gives you an idea of how much of your hard drive is currently being used. Right now, 21% of my drive is being used, and I can come in here at any time and see if I'm getting close to utilizing the whole hard drive or not. Now we'll click on the main menu button and go back out to the main menu. Now we'll go into the video settings window. The video settings window has a proc amp so that we can go in and adjust video, and it also has the area where I select my input, how I'm going to bring my video from the camera into the Avio. So let's click on the left side of the trackball and go into video settings. As you'll see in video settings, I have some video playing in the background, and that's so I can show you how the proc amp works. We click on the brightness button, and as you scroll it up, you'll notice the brightness changes, or go down, the brightness lowers. We're going to go to 100%, which is where the standard setting should be, and then we're going to go back down here to contrast and do the same thing. You can adjust the contrast up so you can make kind of a cool effect with it. You can also take it down. And then one of the nicest features, I think, in this window is the saturation button. And the reason for that is if you want to do black and white video, instead of doing it in image processing or filtering later, you can click on saturation and roll it down all the way to the left, and you can capture your footage in black and white. You can also oversaturate your footage if you want it to look much more colorful. The other nice feature about saturation is if you're shooting in SVHS, sometimes the reds and blues are just a little bit oversaturated. If you roll that down to 90 or 92, 93%, you'll correct that oversaturation. The other thing that you have in this window is the input selection. If you go down here to input and click on that, that will allow you to choose composite input or YC input. And then some systems will have the SCART button on the bottom. If you have a SCART on your Avio, then that will allow you to choose the Euro SCART. But most of them will have YC and CVBS, and we're using YC, so we stay at YC. The next thing we're going to do is go out to the main menu. So we click on the main menu here. Before I do that, I want to show you this little hot button that kind of snuck up on us. This is a record button. It allows you to go directly from this window to the record window. It simply saves you a step because you can go back out to the main menu and click on the record button, or you can go directly from here. We're going to go back to the main menu, so I click on the main menu button. Now that we're back in the main menu, the next step is to go into the record window. The record window is where we're going to take the footage from the camera or the VCR and put it onto the hard drive of the Avio. And to do that, we simply click on the record button. In the record window, you're going to see video playing in the background because that's the video that I'm going to take off of my deck or my tape, my camera, and put it onto the hard drive of the Avio. It's very simple to do. You watch the video, and when you see something that you want to capture to the hard drive, you simply go down here and click on the left side of the trackball and activate record. As you'll see, the numbers start rolling. That means it's actually putting it on the hard drive at this point. We'll capture 8 or 10 seconds of this scene and then click stop. And while that's stopped, I want to show you a few other things, a few other features that we have in this window. If I want to see the complete scene here, if there's something down here at the bottom maybe that I need to see, I need to look at this rock, I can click these double arrows and that'll move the bar to the top. The other thing that I can do if I need even more than that is I can click on this dot and that will minimize the bar and get it out of the way so that I can see more of the scene. That's a nice feature if you've got something that's very important to look at on the part of the scene the bar is covering. When you're ready to record again, you simply click on the record icon and that'll reactivate the bar for you. There's also an area that tells you how much time is remaining on the hard drive up here on the top right. Now I want to go ahead and record one more scene, so I click on record and we'll capture about 10 seconds of this scene. As you'll also notice, it's capturing the audio at the same time it's capturing the video, so all of our video will have the original audio attached to it. The last thing I want to show you on this window are these hot buttons down here in the corner. These hot buttons allow you to navigate through the software, basically saving you a step. You don't have to go back to the main menu to select an area that you want to go to. If you're ready to go to the editing window at this time, you would click on the edit hot button. If you're ready to go to the audio record window, you would click on the audio record button. And then the button over here, this video settings button, will take you back to the proc amp that we read earlier. If you don't want to use one of these buttons, or if you need to go to another area of the software, you simply click on the main menu button and that'll take you back to the main menu. If you capture a scene and you decide you don't want it, you can always delete that scene. So if I didn't need scene 15, the one I just captured, I can click on delete and that will take it off of the hard drive. I'm going to go ahead and get one more scene and then we'll leave the record window. So we click on the record button. We'll capture 6 or 7 seconds of this scene and click on stop. And now we're going to go back out to the main menu. So we're going to click on the main menu button. Alright, back in the main menu now, and we're going to go to the edit window. The edit window is where you're going to spend most of your time. The edit window is where you trim and split and do motion effects and all kinds of stuff, and we'll spend a lot of time going over that window. So go take your trackball over to the edit button, click on the left side of the trackball, and that'll take you into the edit window. And what you're going to see in the edit window first off are the scenes that we've captured to the hard drive. Now, prior to doing the videotape here, I had captured scene 1, 2, and 3 already. Scene 14, 15, and 16 are the scenes that we just captured. And as you click on those with the trackball, you'll notice that they turn blue around the outside. That's letting you know that that is the activated scene. And you can go down here and see how long that scene is. It's 8 seconds and 24 frames, and it's titled Scene 14. Now, what I want to do is I want to take these scenes and get them ready to build or create my final project. I'm going to go to scene 1, click on it with the left side of the trackball, and then I'm going to hit play so we can watch it back. The icon represents the entire scene. It's the first frame of the scene, so this is an 8-second scene that we've made. And what I want to do is two things to this scene. First of all, I want to change the name so that I'll know what it is as I scroll through all my scenes. So I can go down here to this yellow bar that has the name of the scene on it, click on the left side of the trackball, and it activates my onboard keyboard. And I'm now going to go in here to the backward key and delete that. And then I want to type in the new scene name. And this is a bay in California, so I'm going to call it Bay. We'll type in B-A-Y. Now I could use my keyboard at this point, my regular keyboard. I don't have to use the on-screen keyboard. I can use the regular keyboard. But in many instances it's just as easy, if not easier, to use the on-screen. Click OK, and that's going to rename the scene to Bay. The other thing that I want to do is I want this scene to be exactly 7 seconds long. So I'm going to go into the trim window, and in the trim window I'm going to take the ins and outs of this scene and I'm going to change it so that they're exactly 7 seconds long, the total. So I'm going to click on the end point and I'm going to take the trackball and roll it frame by frame to the right until I get to the exact frame that I want to start. So I want it to start at this exact frame right here, and I want to take the out point and do the same thing. Click on the word out and then roll backwards to the left until I get to 7 seconds, because I wanted this to be exactly 7 seconds long. So now I've created a 7-second scene, and I can play that scene back by hitting this play button. Now, as you can see, I created a 7-second scene. I can play that back and watch it. If I don't like it, I can go back into the in or the out point, and I can retrim the ins and out points to be the exact length I want. I can also use the keyboard for a little better control. If I want to, let's take the end point. Let's go back out and make this 8 seconds. I click on the end point, and then on the keyboard I use the left arrow key to scroll backwards until I get to exactly 8 seconds long. And I can use the right arrow key to do the same the other direction. Now that I've got it there, I click the left side of the trackball, and I've changed the length back to 8 seconds. Now we're going to go back out to the edit window. So I'm going to click on the edit hot button here, and that's going to take me directly back out to my edit window. Back in my edit window, you're going to see that the scene Bay is now 8 seconds long. It's got the new title, and we can move on to the next scene. Let's go to scene 2, click on scene 2. That'll highlight it so that we know that's the one that's activated. It's 9 seconds and 24 frames long. Now that's way too long because I want to do some special effects on this later. So what I want to do is go in and trim that down to about maybe even just 1 second. So let's go into the trim window, and I'm going to take the out point, and I'm just going to roll backwards, and I'm going to roll way back until I get this back to 1 second long. And I'd like to be sure that the bird is moving its head during that 1 second. So let's look at the 1 second and see if he's moving, which he is. So we'll take this 1 second, right? Let's move a little farther. We'll take 1 second and 7 frames. That's the scene the way I want it to be now, so I can hit play and watch it back. Okay, that's perfect. So we're going to go back out now to the edit window by clicking on the edit button, and we'll see that scene 2 has changed to 107. Now I want to change the name of that to bird, so I click on the yellow bar here and delete that and type in the word bird. Click OK, and now I've got a new scene name, I've got a new scene length. We'll go ahead and quickly trim down these other, a couple of these other scenes so we can use them. Let's take scene 3 and trim it down to 8 seconds. So we click on the out point, roll it backwards until we get it to the exact length we want, about 8 seconds. Go back out to the edit window. I'm not going to worry about the names on these because it doesn't matter. These are the two I wanted. We'll go to this next scene, and I like the length of that scene. Let's take scene 15, and we'll shrink that down to way down here to maybe 3 seconds long or 4 seconds. Let's go to 4 seconds. Go back out to the edit window and take our last scene, scene 16, and it's 6 seconds, 12 frames long. Let's leave it like it is. I like it. I want to play that back just to make sure that there's it starts and ends like I want it. So let's go ahead and hit the play button. And we can watch that back and make sure that it's just exactly what we wanted, which it is, so we'll leave it just like it is. Now we're ready at this point to start doing some special effects, actually start building our storyboard. So let's take the bird, because the bird is the one that I wanted to do the first effect on. We'll click on bird, and I want to put him in slow motion as he moves. Slow motion and backwards and all of our motion effects are found under the special button. So we'll roll over here to the special button, click on the special button, and roll to slow motion. Now, as you can see, I've got slow motion, quick motion, jitter, and backwards up here. I'm going to go down to slow motion, click slow motion, and then I'm going to tell it the delay. I want it to be 3 times the normal speed. So in that 1 second or so scene, it's going to end up being about 3 seconds, a little over 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds long. Now we simply click OK, and it's going to build that slow motion for us, and it's going to show you in a large effect here. It tells you it's creating the effect, and we can see the bird actually being made to move in slow motion. When it's finished building that, one of the great features of the Avio is the ability to multi-layer your effects. So I can multi-layer slow motion, backward motion, stutter motion. I can put image processing or filters on top of those. And the way it does that is it creates a new scene. So now that it's finished, we're back in the edit window, and you'll see here bird is our original scene, 1 second, 7 frames long. But it's created a new scene called Bird SM for slow motion that's 3 seconds, 21 frames long. Now the beauty of that is I can now go and take this scene and I could add something else to it. Let's go ahead and play that slow motion back by clicking on the play button. Now I really like that, but it's a little bit long. So I'm going to go into trim, and I'm going to trim off some of this stuff at the very beginning. I'm going to click on the end point and roll my trackball, and let's roll it down to about the time right there where his head starts to move. So let's take it to that frame right there. So now our scene looks like this. Perfect. So we've got the slow motion of his head turning. I'm going to click on the edit button, go back to the edit window, and I'm going to just show you one of the great features of Avio, and that is to be able to take this slow motion now and add another effect to it. So we're going to go back to the special window, and I'm going to go down and create a filter or choose a filter. So let's scroll down through our filters, and I'm going to pick Binarizer, and we'll click on our colors here, and we'll choose two different colors. We'll go with black, that's fine, and then we'll change the white to a red. And the way you do that, now that you have your color picker here, is you simply click on the red that you want, and it will automatically move to that red. If it's not exactly what you want, you can move your trackball up, and that'll move the left selector up. You can move it to the left, and that'll move the selector on top to the left or the right. And so now there's the color I want. Now let's say I wanted yellow. Obviously there's no yellow in this area. I have to go up here to the top, click on that, and then roll over to the area where yellow is at, which is in this area right here, and move it to the exact yellow that I want by clicking there. So that's the color that I'm going to choose. So we'll choose a yellowish color by clicking OK and black, and then we click OK, and that's going to create that for us. So now we've got the bird in black and yellow in slow motion. And again, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to create a new scene for us. So when this is finished, we're going to have a slow motion with the bird in black, and it's going to be a new scene, so we could then layer another filter on top of that, or another motion effect on top of that, and we can continue layering with no limits. So now you have your original bird scene, the bird slow motion, and the bird slow motion with our effect added to it, which looks like that. Pretty cool effect. So now we'll keep that. I like that the way it is. And we'll go on to another scene and do some other stuff. Let's take this bay scene here and click on it. And I want to go into special and just show you some of the special effects. We're not going to build all these, just to give you an idea of what some of them are. Color depth allows you to change the depth of the color. When you hit preview, you'll be able to watch that. It's not a real good effect to be able to see on this scene. If we change it way down to 2, I think you'll probably be able to tell a little more. So we can change the color depth. A really nice feature is to be able to control the color. So let's say you went out and shot a video, and you got a little too much green or a little too much red in there, or a little too much blue, and you want to lower that, or if you want to make it look like a special effect. So if I wanted to add some red tint to this, I can click on red and roll that up and hit preview. And now we've got a special effect there. And there are lots of other filters here. Control image is a great one. Allows you to go in and change the gamma saturation, just like our proc amp in the beginning, but in this case you can choose exactly what portion you want. If you didn't want to do it to all the video coming in, you could just do it to a few seconds of the video or whatever length that you've got chosen. We can go down through here and look at a few of the other ones. Mirror is a fun one. Allows you to mirror the image, so you can create some cool effects with that. Negative makes a negative a positive, or a positive a negative. Rectangle allows you to place a rectangle on the video, so we can go into position and we can actually place it wherever we want, and we can color it whatever color we want. We can size it whatever size, and when we hit preview you'll see that it's got a rectangle there. That's nice for layering a title on top of it later on. And then as you can see, there are lots of other ones. Two of my favorites are white balance, which allows you to go in and actually choose something that's supposed to be white. So if I forgot to white balance this video and the boat here was supposed to be white, I can choose that, and it'll go in and balance the rest of the video to that white. If you've got a bride that you shot, or if you're outside, if you're shooting your kids and you forget to change the setting and forget to white balance outside and inside and you get some blue, you can simply find something white and fix the white balance. And then the last one is zoom. Zoom allows you to go in and zoom in on something in the picture. So if I wanted to zoom in on this boat over here, I could actually size this down and I can zoom right in on the boat, and when I hit preview, let me change my zoom in and zoom out here to 0. That's simply telling it to zoom in for a specific time and zoom out for a specific time. In my case, I don't want to zoom in. I want it to be right on it, so I hit preview, and now you'll see that it's zoomed in to that place where the boat was, and as the video scans, it'll stay zoomed in on that position. All right, let's cancel out of this window and talk about a few more things you can do in the editing window. One of the things that I want to do when I get ready to create this video is I want to open up with black. And I don't have any black. I didn't capture any black off my video. So I can go into the New Scene button by clicking on it, and I can create a black or a color. Let's say we want to open up with white instead of black. Then you can go to Color, and simply click on the color bar and go in and again use your color picker to choose. If I wanted white, I go up here in the corner and click on white and it'll choose that white for me. And I click OK and it'll create that here in just a minute. But I don't want white, I want to go to black. So I'm going to roll up here to black. And then I'm going to tell it how long I want the black to be. Right now it's set for 10 seconds. That's fine. I can click on this bar and I can change that to any length I want. But we're going to go with 10 seconds or thereabouts. Click OK. And it's going to create a 10-second black scene for me. And that'll be found as a scene in my edit bin, just like my other scenes. Here it is. It's called black. If I hit play, it's going to play back just a black background for me. Now I've got that so that I can open up with black. If I want to open up with color bars, under new scene you've got color bars, you've got a countdown. Other options will be added to this later. Anytime you see a gold module like this gold, I call it a module, is an area that you can later purchase upgrades for. So at some point in time we'll offer more backgrounds for the new scene button, and you can purchase those if you like. Those will be things that you'll be able to purchase, use on the demo that I showed you earlier, where you'll be able to go in and actually activate a demo version of that, and then if you want it, you can call your dealer and get a code to open that and pay for it. Okay, we're going to cancel out of this window. We now have our black scene, and let's just let's look at a few more of the buttons here so you'll know what they do. Let's say that we decided we don't need these two bird scenes, because this is the one we're going to use, so I don't need these two. So I can click on this one and hit delete, and I can delete that one. So now I've gotten rid of the two scenes that I don't need. And one of the great things about Avio is it automatically will take that, recapture that on the hard drive, so I'll have that space later on. Now if I decide that I messed up and I deleted the wrong scene, I can click this little undelete key here, and that'll bring back the scenes that I've deleted. So there's my two bird scenes that I just deleted. Now it's a very important thing to note here that if you leave the edit window and go to a new project, let's say you go back to project 2 to do some work, anytime you leave the project that you're in, anything that's been deleted is taken off of the hard drive at that point. So you can't come back later and undelete those. If you turn the machine off, or if you go to a new project, you no longer have the ability to do an undelete in the edit window. So if you're going to need something that you've deleted, be sure and do that before you turn the machine off or go to a new project. One of the really nice features of the Avio that I didn't talk about earlier that I'd like to touch on before we move on is the split feature. So if we roll over here to the split feature, this button is going to allow us to go into any video clip and split that clip into smaller clips. So let's take scene 16 for example. This is a 6-second 12-frame scene. What I would like to do is create 3 2-second or thereabouts scenes that are individual scenes by themselves, 2 seconds apiece. Now the way to do that is to go into the split window by clicking on split, and then take the split position button and click on it, and then I'm going to use the trackball to roll for however long I want the first scene to be. So it's going to start here, and I'm going to roll to the right, and I want it to be 2 seconds. So I'm going to roll to the right till I get to 2 seconds. Click on the trackball again, and this is the piece right here. It's 2 seconds of the full 6 seconds. This is the whole 6 seconds. The dark gray is the 2 seconds. And I want to use that, so I'm going to click on the Use button, and that's going to take it and put it in the edit window for me. Then I click on Split Position, and I'm going to roll 2 seconds more, so we'll have another 2-second scene. So we keep rolling to the right until I get to 2 seconds. Click on the Use button, and again that's going to take that and put it in the edit window. And I want to do one more 2-second scene, so I click on Split, roll to the right until I get to 2 seconds. Click on Use, and now there's still some stuff left. There's 11 frames left. I can either, if there were part of that I wanted to use, I could drop some of it and then keep some of it, or I could go back out to the edit menu and it'll take that last 11 frames and it'll call it the remaining scene. But I want to show you the drop feature. Let's say that I don't want to use that 11 or 5 seconds of that 11, 5 frames of that 11 frames. Click on Split Position, and let's click out 5 frames. Those 5 frames I don't want to use at all, so I can tell it to drop those, and it'll remove those. And then when I go back to the edit window, my remaining scene will just have the 6 frames. So we'll go back now to the edit window by clicking on the edit button, and you'll see that scene 16 has turned into 16.1 that's 2 seconds long, 16.2 that's 2 seconds long, and 16.3 that's 2 seconds long. Alright, so we've taken all of those, and then we have the remaining stuff, what was left over here in the remaining clip. But now we could take these three and play them back to back, and they would be the exact identical of the first 6 seconds of this. The beauty of this is you can capture all of your footage at one time, and then you can go through and keep what you want to keep and delete that stuff that you don't want to use. So you don't have to, in the record window like we did, record each individual scene. We could have recorded all of that and then gone through and picked what we wanted to keep, and what we didn't want to keep we could get rid of. So it depends on which way you like to do editing. Whichever one is better for you, the split button allows you to do that, allows you to take and split it out into individual scenes. Now I'm not going to use these scenes, so we're going to delete those. I click on here and then hit delete and just go through and delete all those scenes out of my edit window. Now we're at a point where we can begin creating our storyboard. So what I want to do is start out in black. So I go to my black scene, click on it, and then go up here and hit add. And that's going to add the black scene from the edit bin to the storyboard. The storyboard is going to contain all of the video that's going to be my final project, that's going to tape. So I'm going to start out with black, and I actually want to start out with about 20 seconds of black. So I'm going to hit add again and put another piece of black up there. Now the system is going to ask me, do I want that in front or behind this scene? In this case it doesn't matter because they're both black, so we'll put behind. And that's going to add it to the right. You're always adding to the right of whatever's in the gray box. Now let's take our first scene, whatever's going to be first in our storyboard, and add it to the storyboard. So let's go to Bay and click add. And then I want my slow motion bird here to be the next scene, so I click on it and hit add. And we'll take scene 14, add it, scene 3, scene 15, add it, and then scene 16 will be our last scene. So click on it and hit add. Now I also want to end in black, so I can take that same black scene and put it at the end. Now let's say you've got 200 or 300 scenes here and you were having to scroll through them, and we don't have enough here that you can see that, but if I had a lot of scenes, this bar would be activated so I could scroll through all of those scenes, or I can use the arrow keys to go up and down through those scenes. And let me just add some scenes here real quick. I'm going to copy just so you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to click on copy about 7 or 8 times, and that's adding just copies of scene 16 for me. And you can see now that I've got, if I click up on this arrow, it's taking me through the lines of scenes. And if I had 200 lines of scenes, I could scroll through all those lines. Now let's say that I'm ready to add black here, and I've got a whole bunch of scenes and I don't know where that black scene is. I can take my scroll bar here, click on it, roll back to the beginning where the black is, and I can highlight one of those blacks in the gray box and hit search. Anything that's in the gray box here, when you hit search, the system will automatically go down to the edit bin and find that scene for you. So when I click on search, you'll notice it automatically highlighted the black scene. Now I want to go back to the end of my storyboard, and there's a fast way to do that. These arrows right here, this one and this one, take you either to the very beginning or to the very end of the storyboard. Or you can scroll through with the scroll bar, or you can use the arrows to go one at a time. We're going to go to the end, so I'm going to click on this arrow. It takes me to the end, and then I'm going to add my black at the end. And again, I want 2 of those just so I have 20 seconds at the end. So we've now created a storyboard. It's cuts only. There's no transitions. There is some image processing, but there's no transitions. And at this point, we could play this back to tape. We have a finished project. If you want to watch it back and just see what it looks like, you can click on this play button right here, and it'll start playing wherever you are in the storyboard. So if I want to start on this scene, or if I want to start on my bird scene, I'd hit play, and it would begin playing at the beginning of the bird scene. I'm going to hit play just so we can watch a little bit of our storyboard back. And you'll see that it's going to play back all of the video. If there's original audio, it'll play back the original audio. It's going to give us everything with very clean cuts, and we could take this and put it to tape at this point. I'm going to hit stop and stop playing that back. The reason for that is I want to add some things. I like my storyboard, but I want to make it cool. I want to add some transitions and some titles and maybe even some music in the background. So what I want to do is start off by, let's go ahead and add some transitions. The transition button, this button right here, is the hot button that takes you to the transition window. There are also some other hot buttons here that we haven't talked about, so you won't recognize those. This is the image processing hot button, or the filtering hot button. This one takes you to titling, and this one takes you to your audio bed window where you can put in music effects or narrations, etc. We're going to go to the transition window, so we click on the transition effects window, or if you forget what these mean, you can always go back to the main menu and click on transitions, and you'll see there's the little hot button symbol so you'll know what it looks like. Click on Transitions, and you'll notice the first thing that happens is our gray box that used to contain one of these icons has now expanded to contain two. The reason for that is because we're going to transition from one of these to the other one. And let's say in the very beginning, we'll go back here. Just by clicking on the black scene, it'll move to that. What I want to do is have a little fade up from black to my first scene. So I'm going to click on those two, and then I go down here to this gold module. Remember what I said about gold modules. Anytime you see a gold module, that's an upgrade path. So at some point in the future, you'll be able to buy additional transitions if you want those. There's lots of standard transitions on the Avio, but you can buy more if you'd like. We go down to the module, and I'm going to go to the crossfade because that will give us a fade between the black and the new scene, and that'll be a nice fade up. So I'm going to click the arrow key and go up to crossfade, and then you hit insert, and that's going to place it up here between the two scenes. Now, an important distinction that you'll want to notice here is that this is in green. Anytime it's in green, that means it's a real-time transition. It doesn't have to be created. It's simply ready to go when you put it up there. And you can tell that down here by the little green triangles beside the effects. Anytime you see a green triangle, you know that that's a real-time effect, and it doesn't have to be created. That means you can hit play and watch it back immediately. So there's our dissolve up from black. Now let's roll down the storyboard, and again, just by clicking on the different scenes, we can go down the storyboard, or we can click on this bar and roll through the storyboard. So let's say that I want to go down here. We'll leave our bird like it is, and then between these two scenes here, I want to have another effect. So I can roll down here and pick an effect that I want to use. I want to use the gate effect, and the gate effect is simply a wipe that opens up and closes. I can choose a color, so I can go into color, and again, use my color picker to pick any color that I want. I'm going to use a red, so I'm going to click up here and roll down to the pink or the red. It's pretty pink, so we'll roll back to this other side and see if there's a better color. Let's take that color right there, and I'm going to make it a little darker, so I go over here and just click right there, and it's going to choose that section for me and hit OK. And now you'll see my color has changed to that. One of the nice features in there that I didn't show you, let's go back into color. Let's say that I want to be sure and use this same color over and over again, and it's hard to know exactly where that's at. So I can go into Archives by clicking on Archives, and I can save this color. Just click on the Save button. I click on this yellow bar here to title it, so I'm going to call it Red, R-E-D. Click OK, and that's going to, when I hit OK again, it's going to save that in Archives, so that later on if I want to go into color, I go into Archives and Load, and I'll get a red that's in my archive, and I can click OK, and it loads that exact color for me. So anytime you think you're going to want to use the color again, archive that color, and that color will always be there for you to use. We click OK, and then I can tell it a direction that I want it to go. By clicking on that, I can have it go up and down, or I can have it go sideways. We'll have it go sideways, and we can insert that and then hit play. Because it's green, it's real time, we can hit play and watch it back. Now I really like that effect, but it was too fast. I wanted it to go slower. So I can go up here to this little section right here, and this is the length of my effect. This transition is 1 second long. If I want it to be longer or shorter, I simply tell it. I've got a half-second preset that I can click on, and that'll make it a half-second transition. I've got a 1 second, and I've got a 2-second preset. Now if that's what I want, I simply hit play. And now my transition has changed to 2 seconds instead of 1. Well, what happens if I want it to be 3 or 4 seconds? You go over here to the time, or the X, click on that button, click on your bar here, and roll it to the exact time you want it to be. So I want it to be 4 seconds long. So I'm going to go to 4 seconds, click OK, and now I've got a 4-second effect instead of a 2-second. And again, you can make that any length. If you want it to be 7 frames or 1 second or 2 seconds, doesn't matter. You can set that right here. So we've set that to the exact time that I want. And then I want to go to the end and do one more effect. I don't want a hard cut at the end. I want to have some kind of an effect out to black. So let's roll through here and find an effect that we like. Let's take the, don't like any of those. Let's take the rectangle wipe and hit insert. So that puts it up here, and I don't want it to be 4 seconds long. That's my preset for my last effect. I only want it to be 1, so I click on 1 second. And then again, in this one, I can tell it if I want the wipe to go in or out, and you can decide by watching it. I can also tell it the position I want. So if I go into position, and what I want it to do is I want that wipe to start over here on this rock. So I'm going to size this to be the size of the rock, a little smaller. So it's going to look like the black is actually coming out of the rock. And we'll click OK. And now we'll play that back and see how that looks. So my black came out of the rock and closed up. Now it was a little fast, so I'll make it 2 seconds and play that back. Much better. So that's the ending that I want. Now that I've got all that finished, I'm done with my transitions, and I want to go in and put a title on here. Actually, I want a title on my bird scene. So I'm going to click on the hotkey that takes me to the titling window, the T. When you click on that, that's going to go into titling. Now remember, I could have gone to the main menu, clicked on titling, and done the same thing. This just saved me the one step of going to back to the main menu. What I want to do now is to be sure that the scene that I want the title to appear on is the scene that is inside the gray box. Well, I said that I wanted the title on the bird, and the bird's over here. So I go to the bird, click on the left side of the trackball. That'll bring the bird into the gray box, and now I can place a title on the bird. I have lots of choices, and I'm not going to go through all of the different choices. This is something that you'll want to play with on your Avio just to see what you can do. But you can do a vertical scroll, which will give you like credits at the end of a video. You can do the horizontal, which rolls across left to right the video. You can do the in and out fading pages. You can do moving pages, which lets the title move from one direction out a different direction. You can just do pages. You can do through pages. Lots of different choices here. We're going to use the moving pages. So I've got moving pages highlighted here. I'm going to click on Enter Edit Text, and that's going to take me to the titling window that's going to allow me to do titling on the scene. Now you can see that somebody has already typed in a title here. So I'm going to go into Page Options and delete that page just to get rid of it and start all over. Now what I want to do is type in the word Avio, and I want it to be right here in this area. So I'm going to type in Avio. Go down to my keyboard, and again, if you want to, you can use the optional keyboard at this point. You can purchase the keyboard from your dealer or from Draco and use that to title, or you can use the on-screen keyboard. We type in the word Avio, A-V-I-O, and then I can go into font style, size, and I can choose whatever font that I want to use. I can click on this bar right here and roll up through the different fonts and choose a font. You can see just down below here it's showing me what the font looks like, and I kind of like that, so I'm going to use the Keegan font, and then I can size it whatever font size I want. So let's go with 215, click OK, and now you can see that it's the size that I want and it's the right font. Now what I want to do is go in and change the color because it's really hard to see. I want it to be in black just like my bird is, so I go to Color and Pattern and go to the color picker just like before and choose black. Black is down here in the corner, so I can go down to the corner, click on it. That's going to choose it. You can see it over on the right, and then I'm going to click it one more time to select it. So that's selected black. We can click OK and OK again, and that's going to make my title black. Now, one of the things I don't like about it, I want it to be black, but I want it to be a little bit transparent so I can actually see through to the gold a little bit. So I'm going to go back into Color Pattern and click on my color here, and I've got the alpha key. The alpha key lets me determine whether or not it's solid. If you click on that and roll to the left, you'll notice that the Eiffel Tower begins to appear. That's showing me that it's a little bit transparent, and I can set it to whatever transparency level I want. I don't want a lot of transparency, but I want to have a little bit on there. So we'll click at 55 or 60%, somewhere in that neighborhood. Click OK and OK again, and you'll see now that I've got black, but it's kind of transparent. The other thing I want to do is I want to add an outline to that. And I want my outline to be the darker black so that it'll match the bird. So I'm going to go into Outline, and it says Disabled. I click on that and enable it, and it's already selected the black color for me, so that's great. I'll use black, click OK, and now I get a black outline around it. Now if you're creative and you want to do some really wild titles, let's say we wanted to use the black outline, but instead of the light black in here, I wanted to have something unusual in there. Let's say I wanted to put strawberries on it. I can go into Color Pattern, and instead of using the unicolor, I can click on that and go to Texture, and then the system allows me to choose from different textures. I can click on the texture box here, and I have several different textures I can use. I want to use the strawberries, so I go down to Strawberries, click OK, and now it's going to place the strawberries on me. That's kind of a cool looking title, so I'm going to leave that on there. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to move this Avio over here where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to go into Page Options and move that box. Now it's a little, what it's doing is it's moving the whole page because it's so large. So I'm going to go into Size Box first, and bring that box up to where it just covers up or just contains the word Avio. So we size it to be smaller. Now it's small enough that I can go into Move Box and put it exactly where I want it. Let's move it over just a little bit more right there. Now one thing that I don't like now that I've done that is my font is just a little bit too big. So let's go back up here to Style Size, and we'll size it down just a little bit by clicking on Size and OK, and now it fits in there a little bit better. I can go back again into Page Options, and I can move that down just a little bit and put it exactly where I want it. Now I've got it exactly where I want it to be. It's the right size. It's just what I wanted. Now let's say that I've got it just what I want, but I want to put a color behind the title. I want some kind of a little rectangular box back there. I can then go in and I want to resize this box so that it just fits the word Avio. So I go into Page Options, into Size Box, and make that rectangle smaller. We'll move it back over here where it should be. Let's move it up just a little bit right there. Now what I want to do is go into Box Background, and I can actually put a colored background behind the word Avio. So I can go in here to Unicolor, and let's say we want it to be a light black or gray. I go into Color Select, and actually it's already got a gray selected, so we'll raise that up to where it's not quite so transparent and easier to see. Click OK and OK again, and now I've got a gray box behind my title. Again, I could go into the color there and change that and make it a texture. Let's say I want it to be jelly beans in the background. I can go into Page Options, Box Background, and instead of a unicolor here, I can go to Textured, and I can put my little jelly beans on there by clicking OK, and that's going to put jelly beans in the background. So lots and lots of options. You'll need to spend some time in the tiler because there's a lot of things you can do in the tiler. Lots of cool stuff. You can even do some compositing. Let's say that I wanted to go down here and have another box coming up this direction. I could go in and create another box. I could make it any color or any texture. I could do some compositing of rectangles and squares and make some really cool effects for my titling. So it's a pretty neat tiler. One of the great features of the tiler is the ability to do multiple pages within a scene. So if I wanted to have this be the first page and then have another page come up halfway through this scene, I can go up here to this arrow and go to page 2, and I can add something else. Now right now the jelly bean background is on there. I could go in and delete that, and I could add another title or whatever. You can do as many pages as you want to do, and the way the pages work, if you have a 9-second scene and then you have 3 pages, each one of those pages will appear for 3 seconds. It takes the total length of the scene and divides it by the total number of pages that you have, and those pages will come on and then go off in that time frame. We're not going to use that. We're going to go back here to our page 1, and let's click OK. And the last thing I want to do is tell it how I want it to come in. So I want it to come in from this direction, and I want it to go out from that direction. And the movement time is how long it's going to take that title to get in and out. Let's move that down so it's really fast. Let's take it in like 5 or 6 frames. And then we can insert that by clicking Insert, and that places it on the scene. Right now, it's defaulted to 1 second and 23 frames because that's the length of this scene. If I don't want it to be on the whole scene, maybe I want it to only be on 1 second of the scene, I can click on the Range button, and I can tell my title exactly where to start and exactly where to end by using the in and out points. Click on the end point, and I want the title to begin right there when the bird's beak is right in front, yellow, and I want to take it and only want it to be 1 second long, so I'm going to cut off these 12 frames. So now I've told that title to start and end exactly where I want it to start and end, and I can hit the preview window and I can see what that's going to look like. So you saw the title come on and go off very quickly. If I want to see that full screen, I can hit the Create button, and it's going to go through and create that for me very quickly. It'll have the title come in. It'll show you what it's doing as it does it, and then it's going to have the title go off down to the right, just like I told it to when I selected my arrows, the directions I wanted it to go in and out. And now we can hit play and watch that back. The Avio titler is phenomenal. The quality is really, really good, and you can do so much with it. You'll want to spend a lot of time just playing with these different options and seeing what you can do and getting used to that titler. Now that we've got the title on this scene, I want to go in and I want to add some music in the background. I don't like the original stuff that's on here because it's all choppy and it's different pieces of music. So I want to go in and add some music. And to do that, we're going to go back out to the main menu. So we go down to our main menu button and click on main menu. Now that we're back to the main menu, let's go into the audio record edit window. This is where we're going to take the audio off of our tape, which is coming out of our camera or our deck, and put it onto the hard drive of the Avio so that we can then manipulate it with our project. So take your left trackball, click on it, and go into the audio record window. And we've got some audio playing there, and I'm going to record that by clicking on the record button. And we'll capture about 30 seconds of that, so we'll have enough to cover our project that we're working on. One of the things that you can do that's really nice in the Avio is you can roll up here to the bars where we're seeing the visual representation of the audio, and we can adjust that as we record it. So if I want to lower that down, or if I want to raise it up, I can set it to whatever place I want it to be during the recording. And we'll set it right there. And we've got about 33 seconds now, so we can stop that. It's going to name it scene A2. It's 34 seconds and 24 frames worth of audio. Let's go ahead and cut off our audio player. And now we can take that audio and begin to manipulate it around. I can play it for you just by clicking on the play button. And that's coming right off the hard drive. I can also split and trim it just like I do in video. Let's go ahead into the trim window, and we'll trim off the 24 frames. So we'll take the in and roll in a few frames, and we'll take the out and roll that into 34. So we've got exactly 34 seconds of audio now. Click OK, and you'll notice it's changed to 34 seconds. Now there are lots of things we can do in the audio window. We'll just start at the top here and go down. We've talked about splitting and trimming. We can copy the audio just by clicking on the copy button. That'll make an exact copy of that audio to use in special effects. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Empty sample creates a sample of sound, a tone, or just an empty sample with no sound on it that we can use to manipulate other audio later. So click on empty sample here, and we'll go ahead and do a little 3-second tone. As you can see here, it's been selected as wave sound. We'll click OK, and that's going to create the little sound for us that sounds like this. Now that we've got those two on there, we can go down to Special, and Special allows us to manipulate the audio. So let's take the wave sound and let's go into Special, and there's lots of choices here on how to manipulate the audio. The best thing for you to do is to play with this and get a couple audio samples and just see what each one does. You can also look in the manual. It gives you a good description. But I'm going to take you down just to show you how it works to volume, and I'm going to lower the volume down minus 15 dBs on the tone. And click OK, and it's going to create a new sample for me. You can see here's the original, here's the new sample, and they sound like this. The original is this level. Now if I play back the new sample, you can see that the audio level's been lowered down. And just like in video, one of the great things about the Avio is it doesn't destroy the original. We still have the original here if we decide we don't want to use what we've done, and I'll go ahead and delete that and get rid of it. And the next button on here is Sample Scene. Sample Scene is a very important button if you do music videos. And we're going to go ahead and just walk through that real quickly. Let's go up here to the little audio piece we have. When you click on Sample to Scene, what it's going to do is create in your edit bin a new video sample with the audio attached. And that video sample is just going to be black. So if we go back to the main menu, click on the Edit button, we'll find a new scene there called Music with the black attached. And we can play that back, and it looks like this. Now, why is that significant? Well, it's significant because we can then add that to the storyboard by clicking on Add, and then insert the other pieces of video to the audio, put them exactly where we want those to happen. So if I wanted the bird to be up there as my first scene, I click on the bird and hit Insert, and when I click back out, it would place that as the first scene and put that to music. So when I play it back, you'll hear that there's music under it. Now if I wanted another scene to go right after that, I would simply click over on top of the music, pick the next scene that I'm going to do and have it the length I need it to be, hit Insert, and click back out, and it's now placed that there, and we have both pieces in the music, and we can play that back. This is a great feature that allows you to insert video to the audio, so you can use your audio as a governing piece for the video. Well, let's go ahead and remove these clips off of the storyboard here. And now we'll go back to our music audio record window by going out to the main menu, clicking on audio record. The last button on here is the delete key, and this simply allows us to delete the audio that we don't want. And we do have an undelete key, just like in the video, that will bring back up to 10 layers of audio, as long as you haven't gone into a new project or turned the machine off. If you've done either one of those, then you lose any of the audio that you have deleted. The last thing I want to show you is the input button. This just tells us where the audio is coming in from. In this case, I've got it to follow video. So wherever I set my video to come in from, my audio is going to come in the same place. I can also go up to RCA or SCART inputs. We'll leave it on follow video. Now I also want to capture one other piece of audio here. I want to capture a piece of narration so that we can use that in our video later. We'll have a piece of music and a piece of narration. So to do that, I'm going to have to turn on my narration, and then we'll click on record and record that.
Casablanca Avio, the world's first real-time nonlinear editor for under $2,000.
Now that's going to record the audio to the hard drive for me. Before I go into the audio mix window where I actually lay the audio down on the tracks, I want to name these scenes so that I'll know what they are. So let's go up here to A2, which is our music. Click on the yellow bar here, and let's title that music. Click on this arrow that deletes the old title, and now we can type in the title we want to use, which is music. And then I want to go into the narration clip and do the same thing. So let's go down here to A3, and we'll just call that NAR for narration, so that when we do go to add in our audio, we'll know what we're working with. Now, it's not as big a deal when you only have 3 samples, but if you've got 20 or 30 samples here, it can become a pretty big issue. The next thing we want to do is go into the music mix window or the audio mix window. Again, we can use the hot button down here to do that, or we can go out to the main menu. So I'm going to use the hot button to go into audio mix. Click on the audio mix window, and you'll see that our video is here. This is the video that we put together. This is the original audio track. This is whatever audio was captured with the video clip. And then I've got 2 tracks open, one for narration and one for music. What I want to do is lay down the music track first, and I want the music track to begin back inside of the black area right before the video comes up. So what I want to do is take the music track, and it's important that you lay the music on the music track. I'm going to take the music track, click down here on my gold module and go up to music, and I'm going to hit insert, and that's going to lay the music on the music track at the point at the very beginning of this scene that I've got highlighted. Now I don't want it to start at the very beginning of this. I want it to start back in the black a little bit. So I'm going to go into my range button, and that's going to allow me to tell it exactly where to start and where to end. To tell it where to start, I click on the start button and then roll backwards or forward to the exact frame that I want it to start. I want it to start back here in the black, so we'll say right about there. And then I want to take my out point and do the same thing. So I'm going to roll it back to where the video ends, and the video is going to go here for a little bit, and then it's going to go out to black, and so we'll have it go right that long, and then click back on this button, which will take me back out to the audio menu, and I can do a few things that need to happen. I want the music to fade in at the beginning. I don't want a hard cut at the beginning. This is the fade in slider right here, and I'm going to take that, click on it, and just for maybe 1 second, just have a quick fade in, and then I want the fade out to do a little bit longer, maybe 3 or 4 seconds. So we'll roll the fade out down to 3 or 4 seconds. So we've taken the music, added it to the track, told it what to do, and now we want to do a few more in-depth things with the audio. First of all, I want to make sure that I don't hear any of the original audio. The original audio is distracting and will be bothersome with the music, so I want to get rid of the original. There are 2 ways to do that. I can click on every single scene, and I can go down here to the original track, which is signified by this camera. If you go up here, it's also signified by a camera. So I can go down here on every single one of these, and I can click on this and roll it down to mute, and I can go to the next one and do the same thing. If you have a lot of scenes on the storyboard, that can take a lot of time. Another way to do that in a faster way is to click on your music bed, and since the music is laid under everywhere there's original audio, I can use the music to actually mute the original. And the way I do that is to use a word that I use a lot is during. And that is during the music, what do I want to happen? Well, during the music, I want everything on this track to mute. So while this is highlighted, I can go down here and say mute everything on that track. So during music, mute everything that's on the original track. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to add a narration. Well, I've got my narration here, so I'm going to roll down to the narration, and I want the narration to begin right when the bird comes on. And the narration is going to go on the narration track, so I need to click on the track, and you'll notice it highlights the narration microphone here, and I'm going to click Insert. Now I made a mistake because I inserted that on this scene instead of on this scene. Now there's two things I can do to fix that. I can delete it and move over to this scene, or I can go into the range button and use the range button to move this over. Let's go ahead and remove that, because normally we would have this scene in the gray box, and then click Insert. And that's going to place the narration in that scene. So it's going to begin on the first frame of this scene. If I wanted to start just before the bird, I would need to go into range, take the start button, and just roll back a few frames before the bird, and that's going to move it back into this scene here, and it's going to start in that scene. Same thing with the out. If I wanted to change where I wanted it to end at, that's exactly how I would do it, using the range button. Now I've got an interesting situation here. I've got a narration going at the same time I have music. Obviously I want to be able to hear the narration, so during the narration I want the music to ramp down so that I can hear the narration. So we do it just like we did before. We highlight the narration and say, during the narration, take the music track, which is the notes, and lower it. So I go down to the music track, click on it, and lower it to say minus 10 dBs. So just during this time frame, the narration or the music will lower, and then it will ramp back up to its original level after the narration. Now it's a pretty fast ramp when it does the ramp down and the ramp back up. So I want to go down and use the ramp function to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to click on this one here, and I'm going to tell it to do 15 frames. And then I'll do the same thing on the out to have a 15 frame. And that's going to give me 15 frames at this point that are going to crossfade basically the music and the narration, and then 15 frames here that are going to do the same thing. So now I've come in, I've laid music, I've muted all the original, I've put a narration in. I think I've got it exactly like I want it to be. So what I need to do is then create that, so I can click on the music track since it covers everything and hit create, and it will go through very quickly and create all the audio that I've told it to do. And once the audio is created, I can then go back out to my edit window and play it back and see if it's what I wanted. So to go to the edit, click on the hot button here, go to the beginning of my program, and hit play, and it's going to play it back from the very beginning, all the audio and all the effects, and I can see if it's just exactly what I wanted.
Casablanca Avio, the world's first real-time nonlinear editor for under $2,000.
Okay, I like the project, but it was a little bit hard to hear the narration. So what I want to do is go back, and this is the beauty of nonlinear editing. I'm not stuck with it. If I were doing linear editing, I would be in trouble right now. But I'm going to go back to my music window, which is this one here, and I'm going to go over to my narration. And because I wanted the narration to be a little louder, I'm just going to click on the narration, go down here to the narration slider, and I'm going to raise it up 5 dB. So just roll it up 5 dBs, and that's going to raise the narration so it's a little easier to hear when it's time for the narration to come on. Click Create, and it's going to create that for me. And then again, I can go back to my edit window, and let's just play the first couple scenes so we can hear the narration.
Casablanca Avio, the world's first real-time nonlinear editor for under $2,000.
Okay, as you can see, being able to go back and make changes is very important. I like the way it turned out, so I'm going to leave it just like it is. Let's go back to the music mix window, and let me just show you, if I wanted to do anything else, if I wanted to add any other audio, I would just find the open space and click, and that's where I would put it. So if I wanted to add something else in this area here, I would put it in, click in the narration track and put it there. One of the features that is really important in the Avio is, and it's a little hard to understand, so I want to go over it and explain it, and that is that the narration is locked to the video. That means that once I put a narration in here, I have told the narration that I want it to start at a certain point. Well, if I were to go and try to remove a scene that affected that, then I would have get an error message basically that says you're getting ready to delete a sample. Let me just show you what that looks like. If I were to then go back to my edit window and try to delete the scene here by hitting remove, it would come up and tell me that this is going to remove a sample. If I hit yes, it's going to remove my narration because, as you remember, I rolled my narration back to begin in this scene. And so if it takes this out, it can't begin where I told it to. I don't want it to remove it, so I'm going to click on no. Now, where that becomes an issue is, let's say we've got some music on there, and we're adding and deleting video to the music, but it's really not to the music. We just have a music bed there, and it doesn't matter. Well, the music bed is not locked. Only the narrative bed is locked. So if you want to move something around, or you know that you're going to be adding and deleting scenes, and you don't want to affect the audio, be sure to put that audio on the music track, because that doesn't lock down to the video, but the narration track does lock. So once you set your narration, you can't delete these scenes that affect where that narration starts or ends. Okay, I'm not going to play back the video right now because we've already watched the video. So I've clicked on the right side of the trackball and we're back at the main menu. For the last hour, you've watched me create a project. Now it's your turn. I encourage you to go to your local dealer and test drive an Avio today and see what you can do with this amazing yet simple to use product.